Welcome to Keep On Living, and my name is David Knight. Today I want to talk about awareness. Like you might be saying, like, awareness. Well, I'm aware, I'm conscious, I'm all of this, and I know what's going on around. Well, hang tight. I thought the same thing. I thought because I was conscious and I could see the sun and the moon and the stars, and I can run after my kids and all this kind of stuff, and now my grandkids, I thought I was aware of everything. But I wasn't. It was such a false belief inside of me that my lack of awareness was my real reality at the end of the day. Okay. So today, I want to talk about awareness. And as I'm talking about this, I want you to really see how aware you aren't. Okay. I'll put it that way, how aware you aren't. Because truth be told, as more aware as I am now, I won't say I struggle with it. I'm more conscious now of being aware than what I was. All right. So let me hop on over and let's get into awareness, because before you can do anything, before you can start living your life and keep on living, you really have to be aware. And I'm going to share with you a little bit of my story about awareness and how I was not aware, though I thought I was, and tell you some of the things that I did to start becoming more and more aware over the last several years. All right, so here we go. Awareness. As a child, I was in my body. I remember it really well. 7, 8, 9 years old, 12, 13 years old, all those years, I was very much into my body. I was a swimmer. I loved to dance. I played a lot of handball. I did a lot of bicycle riding. So I was always in my body. Even when I decided to become a bass player when I was 13 years old, I even got more into my body because playing the bass and playing an instrument is very physical. So I was really, really, really deep into my body at that time back in those days. But at the same time, parallel to that, at the same time, my dad was always like, think, use your brain. And I can hear him to this day, to this very day, I can hear him saying, think, David, think. Use your damn brain. Use your goddamn brain, David. I mean, sitting at the table doing math problems, it was a, that was a problem for me. Math was a big problem. Well, school was a problem in general, but it was just studying was an issue for me. I was not focused. I wasn't thinking and wasn't using my brain. And so my father would always say, use your brain, use your brain. Think, David, think, think, think. So naturally growing up and as we become adults, what do? We begin to think more, we begin to use our brain more, life begins to bear down on us more, society begins to reward all the good thinkers. So like you go to high school and you get great grades, you get rewards, you go on to college and you graduate summa cum laude and all them other lotties and lottie toddies, whatever it all is. You get big accolades and you get gifts and you get papers with your name on it and you get letters behind your name, PhD or PH and MDs and everything else. Society just rewards the thinkers, thinkers, thinkers. Well, how good is that? How good is that? Because over time, and as life kicks in, and as we're in our brains more and thinking more, stress, trauma, fight, flight puts us deeper and deeper into thinking modes. How do I get this done? How do I get this is wrong? That's wrong. My brain is going over here. Intrusive thoughts. My brain loop is rolling around. Anxiety, fear, pain. All this now, life doing life, or as they say these days, life, and all this stuff going around the brain now. I've got kids. And my kids are in school and they need to think now, and all of this stuff is going on and on. So all of these life things are going on. At the same time, you're in your career, you're in your job, and you're thinking, okay? You've moved out of your body and you don't even know it. You moved out of your body from when you were a kid, riding your bike and swimming and whatever else you did as a child, dancing and calisthenics, whatever you did. I don't know. I'm just sharing some of the things that I did. I was heavy into swimming back in those days, and being a lifeguard and getting badges and stuff like that. I was really heavy into that, um, always with my body. But if you now go back and chase back in your life to fast forward, think about it. When did you stop being in your body? When did you let your body go? When did you detach from your body and your body just becomes this flesh hanging and your brain is just kind of carrying you around like that, which was definitely my scenario back in those days. So years when my trauma coach told me years ago, my trauma coach, that's the middle of trauma and drama. My trauma coach said to me, Dave, you're too much in your brain. You're too much in your head. Drop down into your body. I was like, huh? What? Drop down to my body? He goes, yeah, drop down to your body. And I was like, well, what the hell does that mean? What is dropping? I'm in my body, man. I'm already in my body. What are you talking about? Well, I soon found out how difficult it was to drop down into my body. I soon found out that I really wasn't in my body, though I was living in my body. I was truly in my head. I was truly in my brain. And I really did not understand the ramifications behind that. I couldn't even identify the fact that I was in my head, in my brain, and not really in my body. But it was obvious to him because my jaws were clenched tight. I was always doing that. For those of you who are on YouTube, you see my mouth. Who are watching the video, I always did that with my mouth, folded my lips in. When I go back to my childhood pictures, you can see me folding in my lips so often. Shoulders up, shoulders high up, hanging out around my ears and stuff like that. Look at this in my eyebrows. Again, if you're on video, look in between my eyebrows, the wrinkles in between my eyebrows. That's from decades of crunching my forehead. Tight, tight. My legs, always tight. Holding tension in my legs. Holding tension in my arms. Holding tension in my stomach, in my gut. And I didn't even know it. I was so wound up and so overstimulated, I couldn't relax. Like when he said, Dave, go home and you'll see how you're not in your head. Go home and just try to relax. And I did that. When I went home that day, I sat down and just tried to relax. And I couldn't. My body kept moving, kept squirming. I tried to get comfortable, and I couldn't do it. Right? I just couldn't do it. And that's when I realized, wow. So he said, you have to really become aware. You have to really become aware. You have to bring yourself into present day now, or into present moment, however you want to look at these words. And again, I'm not sharing anything new that has been put out there. I'm giving you my take on some of this stuff, and at the same time, what I did, some of the things that I did to deal with this and to get myself aware and to bring myself back into the present moment. I realized that I was literally living back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. That's all I talked about. As a matter of fact, I'm saying this. Look at my shirt. It says Back in the Dave. That's my music podcast that I still do. Back in the Dave. What does it suggest? Back in the day, back in the Dave. I'm telling stories of me back in the day. Dave, back in the day. I was living those years and I had no clue. And I got the name of it from one of my good friends. She's a fantastic singer and an acoustic guitar player. Her name is Sonia Heller. I got the name from her. She was over here one day and we were doing a cake party with my sister. My sister is a phenomenal baker and a phenomenal cook. And Sonia was here. We were doing a whole big taste testing, me and Maggie, a whole big taste testing, right? And Sonia was here and I was off in the corner telling one of my friends, Danny, about some story of mine from when I was in my 20s or teens and was playing. He was a DJ and I was playing instrument stuff like that. And Sonia said, there he goes again, back in the Dave. And at first I was kind of pissed. I'm like, back in the day. Now Sonia is a good dear friend, but I was really annoyed. I was like, the hell she mean back in the day? I'm just telling my story. But she saw it. And she wasn't the only one. And people were giving me hints, hints and a half for your ass, like all my life. Like, dude, like come into the 21st century. Get out of the 20th century. And I just thought in my mind that my childhood was so phenomenal, my perception, which was a true perception, but was also covered with a false belief, because as great as my childhood was, it was very traumatizing in many ways. Okay? So by Sonia saying, back in the day, back in the day, back in the day, I thought it was cool. I'm gonna do my music podcast and name it Back in the Day, and I'm gonna tell all the great stories from my childhood. Well, what that do? That put me back in the day. So here I am in 2017, 2018, launching a new podcast series called Back in the Day, where I'm talking about me growing up as a musician back in the 60s and 70s. And I'm already too much in my head, out of my body. My body believes it's living in the 60s and 70s, though I'm a 50 some odd year old man living back in the 50s. I mean, this is what's really going on. And this is why awareness is so, so, so important. It's so important, not important. That's Potman. I'm keeping all these little blooper things in because they're fun to me. I enjoy this kind of stuff, all right? So awareness is the moment. Awareness is this moment. Awareness is not us or me or anybody else living back in our childhood era, living back in our young adult era for those of us who are older folks now. But those who are still maybe who are watching this in their 20s and 30s, don't go there. Like, stay in today. Stay right now. Stay right here, right now. Stay in your body. Breathe. Feel your breath. Take a breath in and out. Feel your breath coming in and out. Feel your heartbeat. Sit and stand for a moment. One of the things that I did, literally one of the things that I would do just to get in the moment, is I would sit here on the couch and just sit. I put on a timer for 1 hour, and I would literally sit in this very room and stare at the walls and just feel my body and be in the present moment. When I suggest people today to do that, friends of mine, maybe a family member here and there, to just go home, sit in your bedroom on the bed, or sit in the living room on a chair, your dining room, wherever it's comfortable for you, on the floor, whatever you do. Just sit. Try it for maybe 15 minutes first. Just sit and just stare at the walls. They all say, oh, I'd go crazy. I'd lose my mind. Well, you're in your head. You've lost your mind. You're not going to lose your mind by doing that. You've lost your mind by not doing that. If you don't feel the tension in your legs and the stress in your legs when you sit down, if you don't feel it, that means you're not aware of your body. So how aware are you of your body? I wasn't aware that my shoulders were like this. I wasn't aware that my forehead, was all crunched up, was like this. I had to learn that the hard way. I had to learn it. I kept trying to heal by thinking, by reading, by talking, but the breakthrough didn't come from my head. It came from my presence. It came from me being in the moment. It came from me by just stopping and saying, what do I feel right now? What do I feel right now in this moment as I'm driving my car? And I would feel that everything from my thighs down to my feet were tense behind the wheel. I felt myself clutching the steering wheel when I was driving. I felt my shoulders tense behind the wheel while I was driving. And then I'd wonder why I was having panic attacks. Some of my most severe panic attacks came while driving behind the wheel. Throat swelling up, throat tightening up. I won't get into dirty. I'll save that for later. So being aware is being in the moment, being aware of yourself, being aware of your body. taking a moment to stop your brain, to slow your brain down and feeling your body, recognizing that you're here, recognizing the earth, the world, and everything around you, and just exhaling and breathing into that. And as Thich Nhat Hanh said, who was a Buddhist monk from Vietnam, I read his book on Buddhism. He would always say, when you're washing the dishes, wash the dishes. Like when I used to wash dishes, I was washing dishes and thinking about music production, a new song in my head, a new way of playing my guitar. I was thinking about my kids, my wife. I was thinking about everything else going on around me in the world that really wasn't going on, because what was really going on? Washing the dishes. So he would say, bring yourself back. When you're washing the dishes, wash the dishes. When you're getting dressed, get dressed. Put on your clothes. When you're driving the car, drive the car. Don't allow your brain to drift. We have to learn to control our brain, or the brain will control you with all of its previous programming from your childhood. That you really don't want, because that keeps you in your head, that keeps you ego strong, that keeps you in your wounded self. And don't be scared to drop down to your body and to feel. That's the biggest thing about it. Feel. Put your hand over your heart, put your hand over your stomach, over your gut, and just feel your heart breathe. Feel your breath coming in and out. Feel your stomach inhaling and exhaling with your lungs and with your breath and through your nose. Just feel all of that. Now, I'm not really here to give you a whole bunch of exercises to do, and maybe at some point I'll do that, but Keep On Living is about sharing the information, letting you know that you can heal, that, and these are some of the things that you can do. And I guess maybe at some point I will get into some of the exercises and some of the ways that I did it as well, because I'm sure that it will be helpful. And if that's the case, let me know, put in the comments, and I can do some of that stuff. And I can also I'll bring in some of the people as well who showed me and taught me some of the things to do, including my wife Maggie, because again, Maggie was doing a whole bunch of healing and stuff 5 years before she met me. When she met me, I was in such a horrible way. I unraveled a lot of her stuff. Really did. So, awareness. To me, the very first step to healing, and the very first step to living, and the very first step to keep on living is to be aware. If you're not aware, nothing else is going to matter. Awareness is first. Okay? You become aware by being in this moment. I'm recording this right now, and as I'm recording this right now, I'm not thinking about anything else except the other words that need to come in my brain and feel in my body to speak and to say into the microphone. And as I'm looking into the camera, my brain isn't, what are my children doing? What is my son doing in his room? What do I have to do later on tonight? What do I have to do tomorrow? My brain is not there. Typically, if you go back several years ago, I'd be recording this stuff and my brain would be all over the place. As I was alluding to before, you have to really begin to bring your brain back. Bring your brain, bring your thoughts, bring your consciousness back into present day. Not back in the day, not in the future with all of its crazy stuff, but in present day with all of its crazy stuff. Because you can handle what happens in a single day, what happens in the present moment. Even if it's crazy and tragic, you can handle that, as crazy and tragic as it may be. But handling a crazy, tragic day, whatever that might be, and handling what's happening in the past, and handling what's in the future, all at the same time, trying to handle all that stuff at the same time just compounds everything. It overdrives and overstimulates your nervous system. It activates your sympathetic nervous system. And if you continue to allow it to activate your sympathetic nervous system day in and day out, month in and month out, and year after year, Well, now the sympathetic nervous system just stays on, that on switch just stays on, and now good luck turning it off. Not that you can't. It's just really, really becomes a practice and a job and something that takes time to shut it down. It takes time. Totally possible because mine is calming down more and more and more. I mean, I used to fly through back in the day episodes, talking fast, and just going. Listen, go and listen to some of the old back in the day episodes. Just listen to them, and you'll just see me just going through them because my nervous system was still so charged up. Now, I take my time. I talk a little slower. I get more into it. I'm more focused on what I'm doing. I keep my thoughts in and around what I'm doing at the moment here, and I don't allow my brain to drift. And when it does want to drift, I now know how to bring it back. As cliches as it may be, and as much as you've heard it over the years, and especially now with all modern day health and wellness stuff, I will say meditation played a big role. And meditation is not the practice of stopping your brain from thinking. It's the practice of acknowledging what your thoughts are, being okay with your thoughts, closing your eyes and letting those thoughts just go by. Don't judge them. Just let them fly by. Let it just go. Let that thought just go and go and go and go. And over time, what begins to happen, the thoughts just come in and out, and you're not really kind of acknowledging them anymore while they're there because you can't stop your brain from thinking. It's already thinking, so why even give it more? What also helped me very much, especially in the beginning, because I had difficulties with meditation. Even 5 minutes, I was okay. I'm going to say this in many other ways, but I'm going to say this. This is going to give you a real good idea of how overstimulated my nervous system was and how long my sympathetic nervous system was on. The on switch was always on. It had gotten so bad for me at one point. This was 3 or 4 years ago. It hadn't gotten so bad for me that if I burped, I have a panic attack. And sometimes that panic attack will last an hour or two. Let's go a little bit deeper, and I'll be nice in my wording right now because folks know I'm not always very nice in my word, but I'm going to be nice. If I broke wind, meaning if I passed gas, I have a panic attack. That's how overstimulated my body was. It was insane. It got to the point where I'd clench my butt cheeks so I wouldn't do that. Or if I burped, I would just kind of hold it in. But when I held it in, that made it worse because it signaled to my body, he's in trouble. Oh, he passed gas. That disrupted the body. He's in trouble. Oh, he burped. Oh, he's in trouble. I was constantly sending signals of fear and panic to my body for decades, since the late 60s, early 70s. Why? Living with my dad. Living with my dad, we were on eggshells every day. My father was like a keg waiting to explode, and he would. The slightest thing I did wrong, he'd explode. So I never knew when my dad was happy. Sometimes he looked happy, but that was just his cringe, evil, angry, enraged looking face. But every now and then it looked like he was kind of smiling to me. So I would do something kind of crazy. You think that's funny, David? And I was like, uh-oh, Dad's mad again. And I'd put my head down and exit stage left. I lived with my father from birth up until 1983, right before my 21st birthday. I lived with my father. When Tracy, my first wife, and I moved in together in 1983, that's when I moved out of my dad's house. So I was on eggshells for all those years with my father. And by the time I got older, I was now pushing back. And my father was no joke. Those out there who know my dad, you know he was a beautiful man, but he was also, as he would say, I'm not your goddamn play toy. Quote, unquote. Okay? Quote, unquote. I'm not your goddamn play toy. And he was said to me a lot. But when I got into my my 20s, especially like my early 20s, I'd kick back. Let me tell you something, Dad, ain't going down like that no more. Man, I'd be shaking inside and everything. Again, sending these signals to my body, tightening up my body, clenching up my forehead, tightening up my chest, tightening up my gut, tightening up my legs in fight and flight mode because I either have to fight daddy or I gotta run. And I knew I loved my dad so much with all of his faults. He was such a beautiful man when those faults weren't there. And thank God it wasn't a hell of a whole lot, but it was enough. It was so harsh when he was there. It was so harsh, so overbearing. It had an effect. But I loved my father so much. I idolized my father most of my life up until my 30s and 40s. I idolized my father. I began to realize how toxic he really was. So when I began to fight back with my father, not physically, when I began to fight back, I would freeze because I felt I had no choice because I loved him so much and had so much respect for him. The idea of me lifting my fist, lifting my hands to my father to punch him or to fight him, I couldn't. I had so much respect for him and so much love for him. Fuck the respect. I had so much love for him. You don't beat something that you love, even though that's what he taught me because he was physically abusive to my mother. But to me, you don't beat something that you love. You love your dog. Why would you beat it? You love your children. Why would you beat them? That's not punishment. That's not a lesson. That's just a beat down, which is what I got back in those days for every little thing, right? So I was always in fight and flight mode. And over time, and as life happened, as more things happened, became more and more compounded, I was already out of my body from childhood. And as life got older and as I got older and older, life kicked in more and more, it got worse. So when that coach said to me, David, get out of your head and drop into your body again, I was like, huh? What? What are you talking about? I'm in my body. He said, no, you're not. And then he began to explain to me why I wasn't in my body and looking at my body and all the cues in my body as to why I was not in my body, which was proof enough for me. And I began to then notice my breathing, notice how I was breathing, notice my shallow breathing. I don't want to become redundant, but those are just some of the things, some of the ways in which I figured it out. All right, so awareness, be in the moment. Awareness is important. It's almost impossible to move forward. Oh, I got off track a little bit. One thing I did to help relax my body was deep relaxation because meditation was a problem for me. My mind and my brain was all over the place. I found that deep relaxation, lying on my back, relaxing my arms, my legs, and making my arms and legs like spaghetti and like a fish and just loose, and then tighten them up, then let them go, and then just relax and drift and fall into that. That allowed me to begin to feel my body. I did that 2, 3, 4 times a day or as much as I could throughout the day is what I would do. And over time, I began to feel my body again. I began to feel how I felt. I began doing some of my childish stuff. I began playing my bass more and more, practicing my guitar more and more. I began playing handball once again just to get back into my body and to do stuff like that. So maybe some of the easy ways to get into your body is to think about your childhood and some of the things you did in your childhood that was very active and very body driven, okay? And maybe do some of those things initially. If meditation is a problem, if deep relaxation is uncomfortable for you, if sitting in the room for 10, 15 minutes and just feeling yourself alive and just sitting here and staring at the walls and feeling yourself breathe, if that's too uncomfortable for you, you're twisted. Your body's twisted up. You can't do that, So maybe just going back to some childhood things that you did as a child, unless you were not an active child. But if you were an active child in your body back in those days, go back to maybe riding a bike might do it for you. Maybe dancing, all of us folks back in those days, Soul Train, American Bandstand, for those who were in American Bandstand, whatever you did, maybe dancing was it. And not just women, guys, not just the women. You guys, we have to stop. us men have got to stop this BS. All right, we got to focus on this stuff because we are in the trenches of of our minds and our bodies and suicide and so much stuff going on because we believe the okey doke about what being a man is all about. Okay, another episode. All right, so that's the weirdness. I'm gonna wrap this up. That's the first episode of this little 3-part series of getting started, just kind of getting some of the basic things going. All right, awareness is number one. Being aware of your body, your breath, your heart, your legs, how you feel, what's happening inside. Are you in your brain too much? Awareness, being in present day, not being back in the day, not being too far in the future, being in the 21st century. Awareness. That is what this episode is about. And that is the first step that you have to take so that you can begin to change your life, change your lifestyle, heal, and move forward. Become aware, open that door of awareness, and everything else will start coming through. And those things that are going to start coming through are not, not going to be easy, may not be fun, but allow them to come through. You will see. It will make all the difference in the world, day by day, bit by bit. And as my Tai Chi twin, I always say, Sensei says to me, he always says to me, David, the slower you go, the stronger you get. And I live by that. The slower you go, the stronger you become. And he will be in the show one day as well because he has so much to share as well. I love this man to death. All right, so that's awareness. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some awareness out of it. And stay tuned for the next one. The next one is going to be intentions. What are your intentions? Because that's the next good step to take. Once you become aware, now what's your intention? Okay, so we'll go there next. All right, so as my grandmother would say, keep on living. Night out.